Hello, this is Abbot Austin talking to you about the structured life movement, where we try to use structures to help us to grow in holiness. We can think about growing in holiness in terms of growing in the virtues. So I want to speak here about what a virtue is. These are the things that structures should help us to grow in, to cultivate, and to attain. So the way that structures help us to grow in holiness is that they help us to cultivate virtues. In another video I mentioned 4 ways in which they do that. Structures, that is, provide us occasions to practice virtue. Structures can also help us protect the virtues we have acquired and guard against vices. Structures also can probe our hearts to see to what degree we have grown in virtue or still need to do so. Structures also point to important things to remember as we keep working on growth in virtue and in our vocations. So I want to speak about virtue, to note what it is, but also to say some things about how it brings us closer to God. The first thing to note about what a virtue is, and what the tradition is referring to by a virtue, is we can think of it as an ability. Okay, so it's this ability to do what? It's an ability to do something that contributes to your fulfillment, your genuine fulfillment. And that also means it's going to contribute to you growing closer to God. So it's an ability to do something that's fulfilling, right? So a virtue is an ability to do something like to treat others justly. A virtue is the ability to make good decisions in your life, right? We call that the virtue of prudence. All these sort of things. So it's an ability. It's the first thing to note about it. An ability to do something that contributes to your fulfillment. The second thing to note about a virtue, it's not just any ability to do something that's fulfilling, but it's a certain heightened ability. It's a perfected ability. So here, think about an example of running a marathon. Now, if I decide I'm going to run a marathon and start to train for it, then I think I have this ability to run a marathon. I wouldn't bother training if I didn't. But at first, it's simply a certain baseline ability. It's a latent ability. And then after I train for the marathon, then I have the ability in a whole heightened way. I'm ready to do it. Right? And so that's what you mean by a virtue. It's not simply having a latent ability, but it's having this ready ability to do what's fulfilling. And then the other thing about it is that you have it consistently. It's not just that you have this ready ability one day, but not the next day. You have it in an ongoing way. So you have this steadily ready ability to do what's fulfilling. So to be just, for example, is a virtue, to have the ability to be just to another person. Right? Do you have that in a heightened way? That is, do you have it so that you're ready to be just? You have a certain facility at being just to other people. And do you have that in a steady way? That's what a virtue is. The steadily ready ability to do something that is fulfilling. So with this definition of a virtue in mind, I think we can see how important it is, right? Because if you have these abilities, these virtues, these moral abilities, if you will, then you can act rightly, right? You can do the right thing. You can do things that contribute to your fulfillment. But also there's this about it. When we have these abilities that make us ready to do the right thing, then these are dispositions within us. So we're disposed to do what's good. We're disposed towards the good, the true, the holy, the beautiful. And these dispositions that are within us all the time, they themselves bring us closer to God. So even in a certain resting way, we have these dispositions that line up with the will of God. So virtues not only help us to do what's right, which is very important, obviously, to do the good thing, but also they change us within. They transform us. And they make us closer to God so that we enjoy His peace in our lives. If you're interested in learning more about the structured life movement and receiving materials to help you implement this in your spiritual life, please subscribe to this channel. Also, see in the description a link to follow in order to sign up for emails with more content.